Human activities from pollution to overpopulation are driving up the Earth's temperature and fundamentally changing the world around us. The gases in the air, such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and chlorofluorocarbons, let the sun's light in but keep some of the heat from escaping, like the glass walls of a greenhouse. The more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more heat gets trapped, strengthening the greenhouse effect and increasing the Earth's temperature. Human activities like the burning of fossil fuels have increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere by more than a third since the Industrial Revolution. The rapid increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has warmed the planet at an alarming rate. While the Earth's climate has fluctuated in the past, atmospheric carbon dioxide hasn't reached today's levels in hundreds of thousands of years. Climate change has consequences for our oceans, our weather, our food sources, and our health. Ice sheets such as Greenland and Antarctica are melting. The extra water that was once held in glaciers causes sea levels to rise and spills out of the oceans, flooding coastal regions. Warmer temperatures also make weather more extreme. This means not only more intense major storms, floods and heavy rainfall, but also longer and more frequent droughts. These changes in weather pose challenges. Growing crops becomes more difficult. The areas where plants and animals can live shift, and water supplies are diminished. In addition to creating new agricultural challenges, climate change can directly affect people's physical health. In urban areas, the warmer atmosphere creates an environment that traps and increases the amount of smoke. This is because smoke contains ozone particles, which increase rapidly at higher temperatures. Exposure to higher levels of smoke can cause health problems such as asthma, heart disease, and lung cancer. While the rapid rate of climate change is caused by humans, humans are also the ones who can combat it. If we work to replace fossil fuels with renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which don't produce greenhouse gas emissions, we might still be able to prevent some of the worst effects of climate change, such as landscape change, which can be assessed as a dynamic process in which the landscape modification changes the spatial configuration of native vegetation. The extent of modification influences the proportion of edges, size, and shapes of a fragment with increasing clearing and intense climate change. The distance between patches increase and the landscape connectivity decreases. This is visible in how the changes have undertook on the Earth over the years. The time period can range from 5 to 100 years and can be permanent. For instance, the Peterson Glacier below from Alaska. These findings indicate that landscape change is a big issue and should therefore be taken seriously. This is usually through ecosystem services.
Since the beginning, nature has provided human beings with many benefits, all for free. Things such as fruit, wood, inspiration, and beauty. Over the centuries, we too often took these benefits for granted and underestimated the impacts of our activities on nature. At a certain point, humans started realizing that they had to do something for the sake of present and future generations, that if nature suffers, humans suffer too. This is where the concept of ecosystem services was introduced, in which ecological, social, and economic processes intersect. We started to consider how to fulfill our needs and at the same time preserve properly functioning ecosystems. Ecosystem services are all the benefits that nature provides us and that contribute to our well-being. Provisioning services, which are raw materials such as timber and water, or food such as fruit and grazing pastures. Regulating services, for instance, well-maintained forests and purified air that prevent landslides. Cultural landscapes, such as beautiful landscapes which inspire artists and let us relax or practice sports in natural areas. Ecosystem services are interconnected and their use often leads to conflict. It is essential to keep this in mind when managing landscapes and resources. For example, when farming is intensive, the quality of soil and water is reduced. If we use too much water to produce energy, agriculture and aquatic services will suffer. Overbuilding and soil sealing jeopardizes animal species and ruins the beauty of the landscape. Biodiversity strategies aim to map and assess the state and economical impact of ecosystems and will then be key to interlink the systems all together. These services will assist in combining the relationships together and quantify the ecosystem services. Analyzing the supply and demand on this basis, decision making and the management of ecosystem services can be made